Alright guys, welcome back to the channel where today we have updates on the AEW console game, new commentary footage of Retromania, new previews and teasers for the wrestling code, new content for WWE 2K Battlegrounds, and the release of a brand new wrestling game on Nintendo Switch. Before we get into any of that though, if you're new to the channel and you want to stay up to date with all the latest wrestling game news, then please do hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so that you don't miss out on future videos. So let's start things off with Retromania Wrestling, as following the preview of Ian Riccaboni's commentary that was shared last week, the company this week released a new clip featuring commentary from both Ian and Colt Cabana.
Into the ropes he goes.
Aloha means goodbye. Jeff Cobb with a tour of the islands.
So that's a quick preview that we have of the commentary running in-game. Personally, I think it sounds really good and it definitely fits that classic style. You might have noticed from the clip that Colt Cabana's audio sounded a little bit louder than Ian's did, which is something that is still being tweaked, as this week's developers blog has revealed that they're still working on the audio levels and the filter that will be used for the final version, as they want to get the audio levels matching up, but also apply a filter to it so that it doesn't sound too crisp and instead fits that more retro style. According to the latest dev blog, not only will players have the ability to turn the commentary on or off, but they're also adding in a new feature that allows the player to set how frequent the commentary will play. Using this new option, players can fine-tune how often the commentary triggers. Therefore, if you want to have the commentary on, but you don't want it to happen after every single move, then you can now use this new option and set it to play less often, which will stop you hearing the same lines repeated over and over again. As for how many lines of commentary are included in the game, it's said to feature between 100 to 200 lines of dialogue, with the system allowing for easy addition of new lines in the future. Switching over to the wrestling code, which last week announced the signing of former WWE star Lance Storm, this week we have a preview of the music that he'll be using in-game. So that's a preview of Storm's entrance theme that he'll be using in the wrestling code. It sounded pretty cool to me, but let me know what you think about it in the comments. Staying with the wrestling code, we also have some new roster teasers, as the company have been teasing quite a few new stars who look set to be joining the project. The first tease reads "Holla if you hear me," which is a pretty easy one to guess, as it's a direct reference to former WWE, WCW and TNA star Scott Steiner. The next tease isn't as easy to guess as the first one, as the account tweeted out the date July 24th, 2005, which was followed by the line "He will rise again and you will soon bow." Any guesses as to who that one could be? Well, it's actually a tease for former WWE star Muhammad Hassan, as that was the date of his last match in WWE, where he took on The Undertaker at the Great American Bash. Following that tease, the latest one reads "Some say we're looking to build our masterpiece." Now that's another one that is pretty easy to guess, as it directly references former WWE star, the Masterpiece Chris Masters. So there's 3 new stars that all look set to be announced for the game as the roster continues to grow. Also shared this week, we had this new preview image of the Sandman's model, with this one featuring his own signature snarl, making it instantly recognisable. Up next, we're talking WWE 2K Battlegrounds, as the latest free update is now available, with this update containing Akam and Chad Gable. Akam's first outfit is unlocked and ready to use once you boot the game up, whilst Chad Gable will require unlocking via the game's in-game currency. Next up, we're talking Wrestling Empire, which this week released on Nintendo Switch. For those unaware of the game, Wrestling Empire is a remake of the 2004 PC game Wrestling Empire. This new game is developed by indie developer M. Dickey, who's also known for other PC wrestling games such as the ever-popular Wrestling Revolution 3D. This new offering marks M. Dickey's first console release, as he brings the game to the Nintendo Switch. At first sight, the game isn't exactly what you would expect to see from a game releasing in 2021, as it looks a lot more like its 2004 counterpart. However, putting the graphics aside, the game is a lot of fun and it features a ton of unique features, and it is easily the most interactive wrestling game that I've ever seen. If you have a Nintendo Switch, then I would highly suggest giving this one a go, as the Nintendo Store offers up a free demo of the game so that you can try it out before you buy. I bought the game on Monday, and from the short time that I've spent with it, I've actually really enjoyed it, although I do wish there was a way to speed up the gameplay. Finally for today, we're talking AEW's console game, as Kenny Omega recently spoke to IGN Japan where he discussed his plans for the upcoming game. In the interview, Kenny confirmed that AEW's console game will feature a campaign mode, multiplayer, create a wrestler, and various other unusual modes. One thing it won't contain though is a general manager mode, as Kenny's confirmed that GM mode is not in their plans for the upcoming console release, and that they plan to keep GM mode exclusive to their mobile title, AEW Elite GM. Now that news is bound to disappoint some fans, as there's a lot of people that were hoping to see GM mode featured in the console game, especially after it was revealed as one of the most requested features for the next WWE 2K game. Switching over to gameplay, Kenny reiterated how he wants to make a game like those on Nintendo 64 around the year 2000 before going on to name drop both WWF No Mercy and Virtual Pro Wrestling. Speaking on those games, Kenny discussed how they both featured a counter button, but how he never knew if you would counter the move or not, as there was no indication of if you could, or if you would, it would just happen. He says that is something that he's been thinking about, and if there's a way that he could implement a similar system that would give the player more control over when they can counter, so he thinks that would lead to more fun. He then went on to praise another old school wrestling game, this time from the PS2 era, Japanese wrestling game King of Colosseum. Due to it being a Japanese game featuring Japanese wrestlers, King of Colosseum was a game that a lot of both American players and European players missed out on, but was highly regarded as one of the best wrestling games of its time, featuring a similar style to that of the N64 games. Discussing the game, one feature Kenny said that he would love to bring to AEW's game is the ability to hit a finisher at the beginning of a match, as that was something that he loved in King of Colosseum, and he feels it's something that should be available to do in the video game, as it's something that you do see in wrestling, but he also feels that there needs to be some sort of momentum and the ability to build up to a special. Omega's hope is that by implementing a lot of these features from some of the best wrestling games of the past, then this will allow AEW to offer up something different to what's being offered by WWE, as he feels that their games try to recreate the look of a WWE wrestling match, whereas that's not the type of match that he wants to offer. Ending the interview, Omega was asked about a potential release date for the game, which is something that he tried not to give a direct answer to during AEW's 2 Point show last week. However, when pushed, Kenny stated that the team are aiming for a 2021 release, although that's not set in stone, as the quality of the game will come before any release date commitments. So if that's the case, and the game is on course for a 2021 release, then we could see both the WWE and the AEW game going head to head at the end of the year. So there you go, that's the latest batch of wrestling game news. There's quite a lot again to cover this week, including the release of Wrestling Empire, which again, I highly suggest checking it out, even if you just play the demo. If you do, let me know what you think of the game in the comments, as I'm interested to see what people make of it, and I might do a full review of the game over the weekend once I've had time to play through more of the game's career. So let me know in the comments if that's something that you would like to see. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. Have yourself an awesome day, and I'll catch you later.